there should be actually a culture of getting return back, that interaction. Because while I talk about being a leader, we're not always right, and we're not always the smartest. If we're being good leaders, good business owners, we're hiring people smarter than we are in the field that they're in. That's a good leader. That's a good business owner, bringing people in. Henry Ford did that. He surrounded himself with experts. Your team making mistakes, they kind of feeling burnt out, costing you more money, missing deadlines. It's not, maybe it's not the team. It's really you. And you need to step up. Kind of, I'm embarrassed to tell this little story, but I'm going to. And because you need to learn from my mistakes. I'm not the best hiring person because I get impatient. And impatience, I've hired in the past the wrong people. I wanted them to step in, take over, do whatever. But I didn't provide any training. I didn't give them clear vision, um, and expectations. Sometimes I get in my own head and afraid to tell them even what's up in my head. So in the past, I've gotten rid of people because I thought they weren't really doing what they're supposed to. But really, it's about me. I wasn't telling them. I wasn't showing them. Wasn't giving them examples. Wasn't giving them a fair chance. And you have to lead. You talk about the mirror, and I like talking about a mirror. What you reflect, what you project, reflects back on you. It's really you out there. And you say, well, what can you do? Well, you can train, and you ought to have it planned in your part. If you're not a good hiring person like I am, find somebody to hire for you. Get on paper, get out of your mind what you want in that person to do, so they understand it too. Um, it's always important to share your vision because you're up here, you're doing this big level stuff, and they're down there doing the things that they think they need to be doing, and it's not fair to them if they're not meeting your expectations. Hell, they don't know. So you got to do that. So how do you overcome these mistakes I've made? Well, hire the right person for first month. Hire slow and fire fast. And even though I'm telling about a story about firing, make sure you're firing them for the right purposes, right reasons. Um, Always like three strikes, you're out type thing. That works pretty well. But make sure that you're doing your job. Leave with clarity and not confusion. Um, my mind works faster than my mouth. And sometimes my mouth even gets me in trouble. But um, you gotta understand who you're talking to. And as a manager, as a business owner, you're employing lots of different types of people who have different views. And you have to look at it and say, okay, I've caught myself and I've learned myself to be very specific about what I want. I don't make assumptions. I've also gotten better, and you should as well. You should ask that person to repeat to you what you just said because sometimes they interpret things differently. It could be vocabulary, it could be training, like you said. Um, but whatever it is, you got to lead and not be confusing. Maybe even talk to your team leader and let them make sure that they understand what you are, and let the team leader do the disbursement of the issues. Or the plans. I love talking about training, and training is important, not just telling. And there's three ways to train. There's visual, there's written, and there's showing. And the question comes, well, how do you know which person learns best? Well, you don't. They might be able to tell you, but the point being is you got to have all three ready to go. Give it to them in writing. Show it to them by doing, and then let them do it themselves. Let them show that they can do it. So there's a lot of different things there, but that's the way to train, in my opinion. Culture is a beautiful thing if you use it. And I talk about, I like telling people use peer pressure. Peer pressure is not always bad. It can be good. And using that peer pressure as a a guide. I love going to the grapevine. As you know, everybody's got a grapevine. Go to the grapevine, tell them a rumor, but tell them a good rumor. It works the same way as a bad rumor. And if you use it right, it works to your advantage. But culture being culture goes back to that leadership, that being clear and explaining to them what you want to do and how you want it done. And there should be actually a culture of getting return back, that interaction. Because while I talk about being a leader, we're not always right and we're not always the smartest. If we're being good leaders, good business owners, we're hiring people smarter than we are in the field that they're in. That's a good leader. That's a good business owner, bringing people in. Henry Ford did that. He surrounded himself with experts, and that's what we recommend. You know, don't find a lawyer, find an accountant, find somebody in your business that knows what they're doing. If you're an electrician, find a master electrician. They're smarter than you are, faster than you are, do better. Get that feedback early and clear and often, whether it be through suggestions, whether it be through weekly meetings, be open. I talk about, and I want you to talk about people having interactions. And I oversimplify things by saying, I want them to prove you wrong, meaning that they have their convictions just like you do. And you listen to those convictions and you explain your convictions. And at the end of the day, comes respect. And they understand where you're going. And by that being, at the end of the day, you might change your mind because they prove to you why their convictions are better, their ideas are better. But with respect, once you've made a decision, you got to move forward and they have to follow you. And a good leader has followers. They understand because you have more than that one particular thing. You've got a lot of things in your mind. You're seeing the bigger picture than they are. When somebody does make that decision or convinces you otherwise, make it open to everybody. Let them know that that person came up with the idea. It wasn't you. Not your ego, because you want other ideas coming from other people. You want input. You want to give credit where credit is due, because that person might give you another idea in the future. Or by you having a good conversation with that person, you've given them ideas on how you think, and they can start thinking like you do as well and move forward as a company, as a team. If you consistently do that, you'll build a team. You build a good team. You'll build a team that that will follow you, but they also give you not a yes man mentality. You don't need a yes man mentality. I don't like being a yes man. If you don't know what that means saying yes to everything the boss says. You want a good team that's going to give you ideas, ask you questions, and that you can train so that you can move forward. Questions aren't a bad thing. Mistakes are not a bad thing. And I mean that by the fact is, if a mistake happens, you're going to learn from that mistake, make changes so it doesn't happen again. So I want you to imagine what your team could be like. Think about how that team has learned from you, either through training, through conversation, through just watching you lead, and they know how they're going to take care of your clients, for that matter, and they're going to move the business forward. Work as a team to get a common goal. And I know you can do that. So this week, think about that. Ask your group questions. Give compliments too while you're out there. Those are good things. See something you like, say you like it. Open that communication and direct communication between you and your team, whether it be a working foreman or a guy down on swinging the hammer. Now, if you like what we talked about today and want to discuss other things about your team, about how to become a good leader and free up some time or whatever it is, in the show notes below, there'll be a link to get with Chris G here, the Hard Hat CEO. We'll set up a free consultation and make that happen. And as always, if you want, also in the show notes is a Facebook group. Get that daily contact with peers and ideas from me at hardhatceo.com on Facebook. That's linked below as well. You guys have a great time, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye.